half of our classes that we liked, special. Went through a lot of schools, a lot of blue bloods. Really, it was fun. It was a fun show to kind of go through. So we kind of set the table there. This show, however, we're going to talk about players individually and the best fits that we like. Josh and I are going to do a little draft, kind of a fantasy draft, if you will, of who we liked in this class and the fit that they made, the decision on where they're going. And then we're also going to talk about the schools that are probably going to mess up your bracket. So we're trying to give you a little heads up, the answers to the test, if you will, years before it happens. So make sure you archive this and find this and refer back to this and do all the things to help you really win your bracket, hopefully down the road. But some good players in this class to really kind of mess you up. And I don't know, we may just freestyle. We may just freestyle all day.
Love the freestyle. That's where we're at our best, honestly.
Did you watch the Get Back documentary? I'm sure you did, of the Beatles on Apple TV a couple years ago.
No, well, maybe I did. Is it the 8-hour long one or whatever?
Yeah.
I've seen part of it. I haven't gone through the whole thing. I
had COVID. I got it at Tarkanian Classic, and I got really sick, so I just laid in bed and watched it. It was awesome, and it was all basically about the Beatles and freestyling and how they made their last album basically off of freestyle. So I'm all about freestyling. So if we can make our own Beatles album out of this, Josh Tech, I'm all for it. So we'll see. We'll see if some greatness happens out of this. What do you say?
I think we're going to do better than the Beatles.
I mean, you never know. You never know. If you're watching this on YouTube, we appreciate you doing that. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel as well, so you can get all kinds of updates from Josh and I. Or you can go back in the archives and see how smart we were during the recruiting period. We've got all kinds of commitment catch-ups, Fast Break Fridays, and all kinds of other shows. You can go back and check out our genius takes, our hot takes on college basketball.
Maybe you. I got none.
For man, of course we do. Of course we do.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you.
I have my phone all day. Like if it alerts, I try to turn the alerts on when guys are making decisions to pull it up. It's just telling me my mail got delivered. So that's not what I was looking for. So
hey, it's not bad. Hey, some coaches' mail is getting delivered today too.
I mean, honestly, some players' mail is getting delivered. If you feel me, if you really want to talk about it,
dropping the bag.
Dropping the bag. NILs, dropping the NILs. All right. So with this draft, let's kind of set the table. So we're going to go back and forth. Okay. And it just comes down to best fit. And we really believe this. We really think highly of fits. We feel like there gives a lot of value for fits, and it'll kind of set the tone for, I think, really this entire edition of this podcast today about where guys are going to college, why we like them in the position that they're at. And I think there's a lot of stuff to kind of go off of this. I don't know about your list. We talked about it offline to kind of have your draft board ready. You can't look at my big board. You can't look at my big board. I just try to show it. If you pause it, you can look at it. But I'm not going to give you that. So I've got offline here 3, 6. I got 9 guys for 5 spots. We'll see how aligned we are of our top 100, or not our top 100, our top 10 best fits. So we're going to do that draft. You want to start it off, or you want me to start it off?
Why don't you start?
Oh, no pressure. Okay, so for the first pick on the fantasy best fit draft for the class of 2024, does this make me Adam Silver? I wish I was on Adam Silver's diet, if that's the case. I'm going to go with Boogie Flan to Kentucky as far as best fit. Listen, we know great guards have had great careers under John Calipari, great point guards, particularly guys that are fast, guys that are quick to score, guys that have big personalities. I really like Boogie Flan a lot. I think he's one of the best competitors we have in this class. And I think Kentucky needs a shot in the arm. We saw Rob Dillingham kind of go off in game 1 on Tuesday night for the Wildcats. I think Boogie Flan has a chance to do a really similar thing when he gets to Lexington. And I think Kentucky fans love their players no matter who they are, no matter how good they are, until they're not good. But I think Boogie Flan is going to be really good. I think Boogie Nights is going to be a thing in Lexington. And I don't know if there's a better guard in this class that fits what John Calipari does. And quite frankly, which is my phrase, I feel like John Calipari needs Boogie Flan almost more than Boogie Flan needs Kentucky, because he needs to have a player like that to kind of remind people that he is John Calipari and they are the Kentucky Wildcats. And I think Boogie Flan is that kind of guy that can step in to what sounds like a high pressure situation and to hopefully have a good career there in Lexington. What do you think of my first pick? Did I
I like it.
Surprised by it? Do you
You did
surprised
not
by it?
surprise me. I knew that you were going to go Boogie Fland at some point, so I didn't even put him on my list.
Okay. All right.
Didn't even think about it. I said JY. I know JY loves Boogie Fland to
I do love
Kentucky.
Boogie
I like
Fland.
it too, but I
Yeah.
knew that already from previous podcasts. Why don't you go back to the archives, listen to all the podcasts, watch the videos? But I knew through previous conversations that you were a big fan of this, so I kept it off my list for that reason. But the first pick on mine that I have to go with, I'm glad it's still on the board because I feel like it would have gotten taken off early. Flora Badunga, Kansas.
Okay.
No coach uses big men better than Bill Self. No big man is better in this class than Flory. I think that combination is going to be great on both ends of the floor. Defensively, offensively, rebounding, he's going to dominate. I think he's going to have a real impact early. I think he's just going to be put in the best, most advantageous situations to be successful.
Okay. I can't argue with anything you just said. I can't argue with any of it. I mean, listen, he's our number 4 overall guy in the country, so it's not that hard to kind of swing and miss. You can't swing and miss on that one. I like it. I'm not only looking at my big board, I'm also with this Sharpie doing our high-tech draft board on the same sheet of paper so I can keep up with what you're doing here. Best fit overall. All right. I said it in our previous podcast. There isn't a better player, better designed for Miami and Jim Larinaga than Austin Schwartz. I think he has all-league potential. If he stays more than 1 year, I think he's a first-team all-league guy down in Coral Gables. I love Austin Schwartz. I think he can be a superstar player for the Hurricanes. His game is perfectly designed for the kind of guards that Larinaga has had success with. And I think this is a pretty no-brainer. When he committed both of course, that's exactly where he needs to go. It's like eating good Italian food when you're in Italy. You know, I mean, it makes total sense. It makes total sense.
Or eating good Cuban food if you're in Miami.
Or that.
All right. I love it. I completely agree. I think that is that's a no-brainer. I think that, like I've said a million times, either in our earlier conversation this morning / afternoon or previous conversations, Miami has been great because of their guard play recently. Austin Schwartz really fits in with that mold of player, that mold of bucket getter that they've been really thriving with. So I think that this marriage is really perfect. So I completely agree with you. And for my second pick, I'm sticking in a backcourt. I'm not sticking in the Miami backcourt for now. Maybe down the line at some point. But I'm just going to Auburn. I'm going to Todd Pettiford. I think that is absolutely perfect. Bruce Pearl, Todd Pettiford, absolutely perfect marriage. Go look at what Aiden Holloway did last night in their first game against Baylor. Yeah. They didn't win, but he had 19 points and he played 27 minutes. He played more minutes than anybody else on the team as a
really?
Coming off the bench. That's right. And I think Todd Pettiford has that exact same thing in him. Todd Pettiford, what does he do best? He racks up steals. He hits big-time shots. What does Bruce Pearl like to do? Play pressure defense, get steals, and let his guards have the greenest of green lights.
Okay. I love it. I didn't realize that Aiden had the most minutes played. That's really interesting. I'll be interested to see if Todd Pettiford earns that trust early on or how long it takes him to earn the trust of Bruce Pearl. But I really like that. And again, there is a no, yes element to his game that I think will fit in perfectly for the type of guards. And that is the thing, too, that I think I love about Bruce Pearl. He lets his guards get out there and do what they do, and he'll let them grow by making mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, there is some – allow me, if you will. So I'm in a very aggressive fantasy football league.
Oh, wow.
And
football?
Yes. Yeah, fantasy football. It's my brothers and I, cousins, and we've been doing it forever. We travel all over the place for our draft. And we're huge Josh Dobbs fans. Okay, it's Chattahoochee High School. He was here in Arizona, obviously goes to Minnesota, has an unbelievable debut with the Vikings. Didn't take a snap. They're doing cadence practice on the sidelines because he doesn't even know his teammates' names. Okay, gets traded in midweek, comes in, wins the game, plays unbelievable. The quote. And I think this would be something that Bruce Pearl would agree with. He says, in this league, Dobbs said, there is never an excuse for your circumstance. I learned that from Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. Usually people don't care about your circumstances. They just want to see you succeed given the circumstances you were given. I love that thought a lot. But I also think that's also part of great coaching is letting your guys get out there, learn by these circumstances and grow in those circumstances. And sometimes you have to make mistakes in circumstances to allow you to become better in those circumstances. So I had some point to my TED talk that Josh Dobbs gave after his debut, but I really like that. So I like your pick for Todd Pettiford and fit. It does make a lot of sense. Like, you ever meet a couple where you're like, yep, those two belong together?
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, that is Bruce Pearl and Todd Pettiford. I like that.
I completely agree. That's why I had to pick it early.
We picked him. All right, so Michigan State loses on opening night to James Madison, one of my sleeper picks. I'm going to keep bragging about that one because it's a big one and also paid for my dinner tonight. But I really, if you listen to what Tom Izzo was saying, he didn't want to play his freshmen. He was getting on his juniors and seniors about they're 1 for 20, I think, from 3, and he got on this upper class.
3%.
Yeah, horrible. So that's why I'm picking Jace Richardson as one of my favorite fits in this class, the Michigan State. Listen, obviously his dad, Jason Richardson, played for Tom Izzo there at Michigan State. There is, and I know I feel like I'm stealing your guy. I didn't get any reaction from you. I'm a little shocked that I'm not getting any reaction from you.
I'm a huge Jace Richardson guy.
I know you are.
But I didn't put him on there. I think partially because I thought you might put him on there.
Wow. I'm kind of stumped by that.
Yeah. No, I'm truly a huge Jace Richardson guy. And I wrote in the Big Ten notebook that's going to come out eventually that I know Michigan State lost, but hey, man, you got Jace Richardson coming. That's going to help out a lot. And Crotain, too. I think both those guys fit really well there.
I just thought for sure that he would be like one of your guys.
Oh, he is one of my guys. But I think that if I'm thinking of just specific fits, I feel like I have some more up my sleeve that are like perfect.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, so Jace Richardson, he's the kind of player that I think Tom Izzo wants to trust. And I think if you're a player that has had success with Tom Izzo, is that there's a trust factor there that you have to have. And I think with that process that we've seen with Jace Richardson, he's really grown up. He's obviously grown up in the game, but he's a 5-tool guy on the court. And I think that's the type of thing when it comes to fit, there's a trustworthiness there that I think Tom Izzo can trust maybe sooner than later, right? Compared to the other guys that he has that I really like there. As we're talking, we're live right now on YouTube. We're not live on X. So I want to make sure that I can tweet out this link real quick as we're talking, as you kind of think about where you're at. But to kind of reset where we are so far of our first 5 picks here, as I get this Twitter all figured out. Oh, now we are live. Hey, everybody. What's up?
Oh, hey. Nice to see you guys. Thank you.
We're live right now. See, this is some real Matrix stuff. So I want to make sure that I
Damn, that's crazy.
All right. Sorry. I didn't see it live. Here we go. So if you're joining us, welcome. Our first 5 picks so far of the best fit draft for the class of 2024 are as follows. Boogie Fland was my first selection to Kentucky. You went with Flory Badunga going to KU of Kansas, the Jayhawks. I went with Austin Schwartz headed to Miami. I love that pick. Todd Pettiford going to Auburn as the 4th pick, your 2nd pick. My 3rd pick, the 5th overall pick, is Jace Richardson to Michigan State, which then, Josh Tech, puts you on the clock here in the all-fit 2024 draft.
All right, well, you can go ahead and take me off the clock. So I'm going Jackson McAndrew to Creighton.
Okay, all right.
I think that Greg McDermott, Doug McDermott's his son, also had a great career at Creighton. Greg McDermott does a great job at getting guys shots. When he needs a guy to get a shot, he gets a guy a shot. There is arguably not a better shooter in this class than Jackson McAndrew. There is certainly not a better shooter with size, 6'8" or so, than Jackson McAndrew. I think he's going to fit really well in Creighton's offense. I think Greg McDermott's going to have a really good time scheming for him, and he's going to create a lot of good shots for him. And I think that he's going to knock him down. I think that marriage is going to be perfect.
I feel like you're right. Sorry, I was going to say something else, but I realize that we're live, and I'm gonna hold back. I like it. Creighton. First of all, we should have talked about Creighton in our first show about the classes that we love, because we love that Creighton class.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. I'm not picking him. I'm just saying. I almost put Larry Johnson of Creighton on this list because I thought that was a great fit too.
Yeah.
I pulled it back because I figured somebody on that Creighton. The whole class for Creighton, I think, is going to fall in that category for me for best fit. I thought they identified guys properly, and I feel like they recruited guys that are going to fit their system really, really well. So I think from top to bottom, That's a fit that I really, really like. All right, I'm on the board. I've got 2 picks left.
Yeah.
I got a lot of guys on my board, man. I got a lot of guys on my board, and I'm not sure where I want to go with this. I'm going to go with Chase McCarty to Houston, just because I love Houston. We talked about this before. I felt like last week about how good the Cougar staff evaluates talent for their style of play. They are plug and play guys. That you've got to have some toughness. You've got to have some physicality. You've obviously got to be able to guard. And when you're older, okay, when you're a junior and senior, you've got to have like some real chops to be able to get in there and play. I think Chase McCarty has all those things. And we saw his recruitment. He had an unbelievable recruitment. He recruited by everybody. And I thought Tennessee, if I would have guessed, I thought Tennessee had a real shot there. But Houston won out. I feel like with them moving over to the Big 12, I think Chase McCarty is a guy that you've got to have. You've got to have all the bullets in the chamber when you're making that full-time swing over to a new conference like they have, to have the success that they've had, to sustain the success that they have. Chase McCarty, I think, checks all those boxes, and a guy I think stays the course there in Houston. Really, really like this fit a lot. Just like we saw with Jarris Walker, like fit that program for how they wanted to play and had a lot of success, and obviously now with the Indiana Pacers. But I really like Chase McCarty for Houston. He's going to be my pick here in the best fit overall draft.
No, I love it. But we're big Chase McCarty fans here. We've seen him a lot. We've kind of talked about him a lot. I feel like we've raved about him.
We have. I know. I
completely agree. Like I feel like he was going to come up at some point in one of these conversations. I'm glad he came up here. But I completely agree. I think he's going to be a great fit over there at Houston.
I love it. All right, you're on the board.
All right, now we're getting to crunch time. I have several picks on the board that I kind of want to take. I'm gonna go with the number 1 overall class. I'm gonna go with Con Knipple going to Duke. I think that is just so good. I mean, earlier in our previous show, we kind of had the Luke Kennard comparison came up a bit, where he's not quite gonna be the full-blown villain because there's a lightning rod villain there. Like the Grayson Allen is Cooper Flagg, and then Luke Kennard and Con Knipple. And then I think Con's going to do a great job scoring the ball from all over the floor. I think he's going to be a steadying presence. I think he's going to be there for a couple of years. I think he's going to be one of those guys that you grow to dislike because he's been there for so long, but he's not going to be a villain in like the same way as, all those other hateable guys. He's going to be a villain in the sense that he always kills your team. He's going to hit the big shot. He's going to make the big play. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to do all of the highlight reel stuff that you need a guy like Con Knipple to do as a scorer. I think he's going to be a really good fit over there in Durham.
Can I zig to your zag and say that I think that he might be on my power rankings of guys that could transfer?
Really? That's one that could be. That's an interesting list that we could come up with.
Oh, maybe we do. Maybe we'll piss off a lot of people. On the
process. Yeah, no, I think he's going to stick there. I think he's going to do a really good. I think he's going to be
it's like going out to dinner in the summertime and going, okay, of all of our friends that got married this summer, let's draft which ones are getting divorced. That's essentially what the transfer list is going to be. Okay.
Could be.
All right, nevertheless. All right, I'm going to put Con Knipple here as our 8th overall pick on the best fit draft. My last pick. So I have one pick. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys on my board, and I've got to figure out which one I like the most. How many guys do you have left on your board? I'm just curious.
6.
Okay, well, I think it's going to be a 20-pick draft then. Deal?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I think we keep it rolling. So that makes my pick a little less pressurized. All right, I'm going to go for me out on this isn't so much a limb, but when it happened, I got it. I understood it. I was like, yeah, I'm there. Can you have any guess of who I'm thinking about? It's a pretty recent commitment.
Recent commitment?
Yeah.
I cannot think of who it could be.
I'm going Nas Cunningham to Alabama.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I actually really like it a lot.
To pair with that, I like Aiden Sherrill too.
Well, right. And so we've seen the Tide go after long wings or combos or I don't know.
Whatever.
Right? So Noah Clowney is one of those guys. Yeah, Aiden Sherrill's one of those guys, but Brandon Miller, like guys that have NBA size. Okay. Like that's what Nate Oates has spent a lot of time in the NBA watching programs that have big wings. And when I look at Nas Cunningham, at one point, remember, this guy was the number one player in the country. At one point. He's bounced around, went to OTE, now at Southern California Academy. He's from, where's he from? Baltimore or the Northeast or somewhere else?
Jersey.
Jersey, yeah. So he's kind of bounced around all over the place. He's going to end up in Tuscaloosa. But I really do like the fit because there's a history of guys like him that are high upside guys that have worked, right? That have worked, that they have succeeded with their skill development. And I look at Nas Cunningham, he's used to it. There's a foundation now of skill development, whether it's at OTE, whether it's Southern California Academy, whether it's high-level travel basketball, whatever the case may be. For him to get to Tuscaloosa to play for a coach that has had a lot of success with those types of players, I really like the trajectory here, maybe more than the present. And if he's a top 40 guy, top 30 guy, whatever the case may be, long term, I really like it. And I feel like Alabama, because of the fit, may be able to tap into that better than anybody.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Like, I think he could have been one. I just didn't. Maybe it's because it's just a newer commitment that I didn't think about. He's definitely on there, would be on there in consideration, and so is Aiden Sherrill, because like you said, they both fit that mold that Nate Oates has succeeded with in the past and really has sent guys off to the league. I mean, this combination is last year's combination with Noah Clowney and Brandon Miller, right? Like it's kind of the same thing, to a degree. So yeah, completely get it, completely agree. So this was supposed to be our last pick.
Correct.
But we're going to extend it out. But because this was supposed to be our last pick, I'm going to get you with a guy that I would.
You're going to break my heart.
That you had on your list. I'm dead convinced that you have this guy on your list. So I'm going to snake him from you because he's on my list, and I did a good job of trying to avoid guys that were on your list. But I wanted to have this guy brought up. Taj DeGorville, San Diego State, Aztecs, just fits the program so well. Just physical defender, player, just what I'm saying? Like, he just fits. Like, he's just such a physical player.
I love the pick, obviously. Huge fan of him, huge fan of where he's going. Wasn't on my list only because I was going to talk about him a little bit later in the show for programs that are going to do construction.
Yeah, we can go ahead and put a pin in that, but just I knew he would come up. I figured he would come up in this. I know you like him a lot, and I'm obviously a big fan. So like, I wanted to at least bring him up because I think that like you could have not known where he was going to school. You could have watched him play and been like, he looks like he'd be pretty good at San Diego State.
Well, you know what's great about him is that I think there were a lot of schools that were recruiting him, like UNLV, and there were some like other Pac-12 schools that were kind of in the mix. But I really liked the fact that he was conscious enough and self-aware enough to go, okay, I saw what they just did in March Madness, and I think that my game is worthy of that type of pairing, right? Mm-hmm. I really like that a lot. I think he's a high-level competitor. He's really part of a great Wasatch Academy team that I'm going to see in a couple weeks up in Salt Lake. Really like him a lot. Really like that fit. Really like that pick for you. I think it makes a ton of sense. And the Aztecs aren't going anywhere, man, when they get guys like Taj DeGorville. Competitor, total competitor. I want guys that can compete. We did another draft before. I like the kind of guys that we want. Competitors, for me, is always number one.
Yeah. And like we keep bringing up, he's a sustainable guy. Like, he's going to be there for a little while. And he's going to build in that program and develop in that program and do just the kind of San Diego State player that we've seen. And it feels like their reign of success has been forever at this point, but like, he's just going to be that kind of guy.
All right. So to recap, I'm Justin Young. He's Josh Tech. Welcome to HoopSeen. If you're watching, if you're joining us, we went through and did our first 10 picks of our mythical best fit draft for the class of 2024. We're talking about the players that we like as comparative to the school that they're going to and the role that I think they're projected to go fit. Not so much the best player, not off of rankings. Obviously, there were some clear guys that are in there that are highly ranked guys. But we talked about our best fit. I'm going to recap our draft so far. When number one overall is Boogie Flan, Floyd Badunga, Austin Swartz, Tahad Pettiford, Jace Richardson, Jackson McAndrew headed to Creighton, Chase McCarty to Houston, Con Knipple to Duke. He's also number one on my potential transfer list. Ironically, Nas Cunningham to Alabama, and Taj DeGorville to San Diego State. So Listen, let's extend it out. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys left on my board. I'm sure I can think of another guy that I can put on here to keep it going here into picks 11 through 20. Should we just keep it rolling?
Let's do it.
Let's keep it rolling. I like it. Okay. I'm going to go, again, effort and competitiveness. I just talked about that with your guy, Taj DeGorville. I really like what Arkansas is doing. I really like the fact that they're going all across the country to go recruit. I don't think they really care too much about where you came from, whether it's a transfer, whether it's a high school guy. Isaiah Elohim, headed to Arkansas out of Sierra Canyon High School in California, is not a pipeline that we've seen maybe ever. I know that for a fact that we haven't seen that happen, okay? But I really like this one a lot. Isaiah Elohim is big. He's a strong wing. He kind of fits the mold of guys that we've seen. We've seen good guard play like Anthony Black. Now, I don't think that Isaiah Elohim has the versatility that Anthony Black has, but there's a juice to him that Nick Smith certainly had when he was there in Fayetteville that I think can get unlocked when he's up there in Northwest Arkansas. I actually really like this fit a lot.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, I had a question about this on our talking notes. If Jay Wright was still at Villanova, who would he landed? I think Isaiah Elohim, he would have gotten that one done and would have been a Wildcat for Villanova. Now, I think that type of player is ending up with Arkansas and what Muss is doing. Isaiah Elohim is now my next pick in the best fit draft for the class of 2024.
I love it. I love it. Big fan of that. Big fan of what Muss is doing over there in Arkansas. It's nice to see that program kind of perennially back to being one of the top programs in the country.
You know what I would really like to see? I'd like to see a series. Oh, it is going to happen. I need to get myself to, is what I should have said. Missouri, Arkansas. Dogfight.
Yeah.
Dogfight. I want to be there for that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Maybe we do a HoopSeen road trip.
We need to. I might bring a little guy along with me, but that's okay.
That'd be fun.
All right, what you got? Who's next for you?
This is number 6.
Yes.
All right, I kept a couple of these guys off of my original top 5 because we either discussed a school they're going. We already discussed schools they're going to, so I'm going to go through a couple of guys like that next. But one guy I have to go with, recent commit, Ja'Kai Howard. I think that at Auburn is just going to work so well. I think that athleticism, he's going to just thrive in that kind of hectic, up and down, transition-y kind of system. He's going to make huge plays. That facility facility is one of the better home court environments that might not get discussed with like the top overall. And I think like when they're playing like, for instance, Kentucky or something like that, and we get a Tahad Pettiford steal that leads to a Ja'Kai Howard dunk, it's going to send that place just going bananas. I think he fits that kind of, you brought it up, the no, yes kind of guy. I think he could be that kind of guy as well. And he just keeps getting better and better. I think as soon as he made that announcement, I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna be electric at Auburn.
So you're a huge fan of the Auburn class. That is my big takeaway here so far, is that Auburn is one of your favorite classes, and I get it. I would hard to disagree with that on there. Okay, man, I'm always trying to like zig a little bit rather than zag and not go with like, normal expected names here. So, all right, let me give you a little. It's story time with Uncle Justin. It happens on this show. Tariq Gilbert, Miller Grove High School, one of my all-time favorite guys out of the Peach State, an absolute winner, 4-time state champ, brought everything to the table for Coach Sharman White. A dog of a guard, knows how to guard, goes up to Connecticut, has some shoulder problems, dislocates his shoulder. Injuries really, I think, took him away from UConn fans really seeing the type of guard that Tariq Gilbert could have been had he been healthy. I set the stage all up with that story to say that I love Ahmad Noel headed to UConn because I think he's going to be that type of player that I think what we could have seen with Tariq Gilbert. Super competitive. You get a Philly guard, so there's a stigma in a good way of a Philly guard that brings toughness. Listen, we know Coach Hurley will have tough guards. We've seen tough guards have success for him everywhere he's been along the way. I don't think Ahmad Noel's ever going to kill you with a ton of points, just like Tariq Gilbert was, but there is a control to him that I really, really like. And as Connecticut builds off of what they've done as a national champion, I could see Ahmad Noel being a really important piece to what they do long term, and more importantly, to really tap into Philadelphia, where tough Philadelphia players look at Connecticut as a place where they go. I don't know. I'm not super up to date on my Connecticut basketball recruiting history, but I would feel pretty damn good if I had a Philadelphia connection in a pipeline from Philly to Storrs, Connecticut. I would feel great about that. Get some of those team final guys to come be a part of my roster and be a part of what I'm doing. I'd be pretty happy with that. I would be really happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Ahmad Noel. I think he's a fantastic player. He could probably give the Connecticut football team a couple snaps at running back. But man, I really love that one. I think that's a good one.
I like it. I like it. Good. I'm glad you like it. All right, what do you got next?
I'm gonna also zig and zag and do a little bit of something completely different. I'm gonna go with Bishop Boswell going to Tennessee. I think Rick Barnes' teams, I mean this in a complimentary way, have played really ugly basketball. Watching their games kind of sucks sometimes. But that's because they're really, really defensively oriented. They are not worried about playing pretty basketball. They're more worried about playing gritty basketball. And they're going to lock you up. They're going to frustrate you. Your points are not coming easily. It's going to be a rock fight every time. I think Bishop Boswell, really good defender. I think he's going to fit that system really well. He's going to be able to, get up in people and really frustrate opposing guards and make life difficult and help perpetuate some of those really ugly Tennessee games that I'm going to end up watching like a glutton for punishment.
Gritty, not pretty. That needs to be a T-shirt that you guys sell or people
in
sell.
Orange and white.
I like it. Gritty, not pretty. Is it a shirt?
I don't know.
Needs to be. Needs to be. You need to get all the benefits of that. All right. I knew I had to go off my list because I only had 9. I got to make 10 picks. I'm going to go with Jace Butler to Illinois. It was one of my favorite sleeper picks of this class. I really liked him. Every contending non-Power 5 school in the West wanted to get Jace Butler out of the Branson School, out of California. Illinois, they read the internet, man. They read the internet. They're probably watching this too at some point. They try to make sure they keep every rock unturned to find players. Jace Richardson, I think Illinois was really like the only real high major that was after him, if you want to call them a high major compared to other schools. Like he had New Mexico and Colorado State, and I can't, a couple others that are off the top of my head. But I really like Illinois for a fit because they did their homework. They always have great guards. Chester Frazier was their lead recruiter there, I believe. Great guard himself when he was in college. And now with Illinois doing his thing. And Jace Butler, to me, is a guy that I think can come in there and do some work, man, and really prove himself to be a great value pickup outside of most people's top 200 rankings. This is in our top 115, I believe, maybe even higher than that. I really like him a lot for this fit because they believed in him. And again, going back to that quote that I read from Josh Dobbs, sometimes you just need circumstance to put you in a good position. So Jace Butler, not only is he, I think, a great fit, but pretty much one of my most favorite sleeper picks of this class of 2024.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of that one, so I really like that you went there. I'm looking forward to. I almost went. He's not on my list, but I almost went Morez Johnson at Illinois because I think he really fit the league really well. But he didn't end up making my list because I don't know. But
let's go one more pick. Why don't you round us up with one more pick, and we'll call it a day on this segment.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go Emmanuel Stephen at Arizona. I think that the way Tommy Lloyd has employed his bigs since he's been there really fits to what Stephen can do. I think you look at a guy like Omar Ballo and how he's really taken steps forward since being Tommy Lloyd's main guy. I think Stephen can really fit that. I think both ends of the floor, defensively, offensively, he'll get there. He'll obviously make his immediate impact defensively. But I think Tommy Lloyd's going to really employ him well, and he's going to end up having a really good career in the front court of Arizona.
I love it. I love it. This is fun. I think fit really matters because here's the thing, and I think this is a good segue into our next segment, talking about the value of freshmen. Now, I've often wondered too, like how much does a freshman matter anymore in college basketball? Do they really help out? Like, do we really have impact guys like we once had with the portal coming in? We hear every coach, every recruiting period. We want older guys. We want guys that have experience. We want guys that have gone to practice. We want guys that have played on the road. High school guy takes too long to develop. I thought about this a lot. And I was like, all right, well, how many guys actually play a lot as a freshman? So I pull up our data from the class of 2022. And I did some data scraping here to kind of really figure some stuff out. I looked at our top 100 guys that we, HoopSeen, had ranked in the class of 2022. And I measured it up against the things that they did. when they were in high school. And it was actually really fascinating. And so what I found, and I did a data dive on this, and I might put this together in a story and put that out there. Of our top 100 guys, here's like how things kind of played out. Okay. 35 of those 100 guys played less than 15 minutes a game. Okay. So that's 1/3 of this class played less than 15 minutes a game as a freshman. These are top 100 guys coming out of high school. 19 of those players played less than 10% or 10 minutes a game. Okay. So that's 20% of the incoming freshmen. And of those 19, 10 of those guys transferred, which then leads to 21 players of our top 100 transferred. 24 of them either went to the NBA or they went to a pro level overseas or G League or whatnot. So 24. So that now puts us at 45 guys of our top 100 either transferred or left. Okay. And so from there, I was like really interested in what I deem as a value sophomore. And a value sophomore is a guy that's returning back to the school that he started as a freshman, and that he played significant minutes, or he had started, or he was a starter. Of our top 100 guys, there's only 18 returning value sophomores. That's fascinating to me. 20% of our top 100 is back for a sophomore season in college. And so now I kind of appreciate, now I even wonder now, is a freshman more valuable than a sophomore? And how many of the transfers that are coming in are redshirt sophomores or transfer sophomores? I don't know. That might be another data project to kind of look at. But when we look at this, I was at the average amount of minutes that a freshman of our top 100 from the class of 2022, they played 18.4 minutes a game. And they averaged just 13 starts in a season. So the value of a freshman is really interesting. Now, this class, like our number, it was Amen and Asar Thompson was our number 1, number 2. Dylan Mitchell was our number 3. We probably got that wrong. Derek Whitehead, number 4. Nick Smith, Cameron Whitmore. I mean, when we look back, our rankings probably were not that great because we had Gigi Jackson, number 4. Derek Lively is number 8. Cason Wallace, 9. Keontae George, 10. Brandon Miller, ironically, was number 15, all the way down to 15. Jarris Walker, 16. Anthony Black, 21. Grady Dick, 25. Just kind of going down the list even more. Jordan Walsh, 46. I think we got that one right. Jalen Hood Shafino, 48. But then when you look at guys like that are back, Kylan Boswell is our highest rated guy that's back. He was number 17. He played 15.2 minutes a game, started no games. He'll be a starter this year. There's other guys like Khalil Ware transferred, MJ Rice transferred, Ernest Uday transferred, but Seth Trimble from North Carolina, 9.7 minutes a game. Terrence Arsenault. I mean, really, when you look at it, I thought Aiden Mahaney, who was our number 99 ranked guy.
98, I think maybe.
Yeah, he's 99. 30.6 minutes a game, started 26 games, a dominant player, the best non-Power 5 conference guy there was in this class. Unbelievable. Okay. Like Riley Kugel, really good. Alex Caravan. This was interesting. Alex Caravan started 38 games, played 28.9 minutes a game. But if you listen to anybody, you would have thought Donovan Klingon, who started no minutes or no games as a freshman, is valued more. So I do think it's interesting, like the value of a freshman is certainly declined over time. But that's why I think you got to get it right, because those guys that do go pro, they do make an impact. Now, do they help you win a national championship? I don't know. I don't think so. Not like we saw before, right? Like not in years past. It's been a long time since we've seen a freshman like even make it to the dance, or hell, even play in the tournament.
Well, I think some of it has to do with just opening up different avenues. Like we saw the Thompson twins did not go to college. A lot of those guys did not go to college. So yeah, it is declining a little bit.
Like
but yeah,
Chandler Edwards didn't go to the tournament. Ben Simmons didn't go to the tournament. These are number 1 players in the country, right? So like, I do wonder like the value of a freshman for college basketball. Are you better off to build guys? And this is why I want to talk about the fits, right? Are these guys going to stick around and give you great value? That's why I think Austin Schwartz, in hindsight, maybe should have been my number 1 overall pick, because I think he stays around and he impacts the program. Wins 90 games in college, maybe more, probably more, definitely more.
Well, maybe not. I don't know about definitely.
I feel good about that. Well, that's on average 23 wins.
Sometimes things happen.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, I mean, I do think there needs to be value too for fits for the non-major schools, right? And we've talked about them. We saw James Madison go out there and beat Michigan State. They got guys that return. They got guys that know how to play. They recruit their level really, really well. And the one thing I will say this, Josh, when you look at our top 150 for our class of 2024 on hoopseen.com, I feel like we did a really good job of evaluating non-power 5 level guys. And if you look at our rankings, like we got tons of guys in there that are not going to high major schools. In fact, I'll kind of pull that up. But anybody that comes to mind for you in this class of two, as I'm pulling this up, that you really like that's going to a non-major, or a class that you like that's going to a non-major?
Yeah, I mean, one class, I mean, I think it might just be because of like sheer numbers, but Old Dominion had a really good class coming in. They had like a couple top 150 guys, Ethan Lathan, Caden Diggs, Dion Ware, a couple guys maybe outside of the top 150. But Ethan Lathan's a top 150 guy. They have good size, good positional, or across the board good size. I think it's just, I don't know, when I feel like when I first got into watching college basketball like a psychopath, Old Dominion was always pretty good. So this kind of feels like a class that's going to bring Old Dominion back to being pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, Ethan Lathan, again, he could be like Jonai Broom, who went to Morehead State, who I loved coming out of high school, had an unbelievable career, and then obviously transferred over to Auburn and leveled up. I think we're going to see more and more level up guys year in and year out, and I'd be interested to see like how many level up guys there are.
Yeah. I think that's correct. I think we're seeing a lot of guys kind of choose alternative routes, not just being like, okay, I'm going to go to whatever high major will take me, but they're more willing to go other places to like level up, like you said. And I think that's the kind of, if you're not a bona fide top 50 guy, I think that's a route that a lot of other guys should seriously consider, because I think a lot of coaches are not as willing to just take anybody below top 75, for instance, just because, like you said, the value of freshman is kind of, up in the air a little bit. So I think more coaches are more so looking to get the older, sure bet.
There was a kid that committed within the last week that's in our top 150, a kid named Bobby Cannon out of North Carolina. He played at our Carolina Jam, high upside guy, 6'10", can shoot threes, block shots. Honestly, like kind of a poor man, Nick Claxton. And in any other year, I think he would have been a guy that waited probably till like May, honestly, or April to like make a decision. But now I do wonder like how many of those opportunities are still going to be waiting for players, especially with the transfer portal, especially after the college season's over, where a guy like Bobby Kennedy, he goes to New Orleans. He commits to New Orleans, okay? Not Tulane, not Lafayette, like New Orleans, a school that, quite frankly, is not a school that probably like raises your eyebrows up too much, but he goes to New Orleans. Now, he could go out there and be really good as a sophomore or as a freshman, leave his sophomore year and go, to an ACC school or an American Conference, Conference USA or something like that. It wouldn't shock me at all. But I think we're going to start to see more and more guys take something that's on the table, right? Like if you have an offer on the table, you probably need to take that these days.
Yeah.
And where guys just wait all the time to wait for something,
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of guys who had multiple high major offers on the table that even went on visits to high major schools and ultimately chose, I guess, what we would deem as non-traditional power programs. You know what I'm saying? Like sure. A couple guys from my backyard right down the street at Wheeler High School is Josh Hill. He went on visit. He had I remember standing next to Shaka Smart and an assistant at the June Live period. They were both, talking about how they could use Josh Hill at Marquette and in their system and all this stuff. He went on visits to Xavier. He went on visits to other high major schools. I believe Arizona State was one that was really in on him, but he chose to go to Arkansas State, where he saw, and speaking of Arkansas State, they just landed a commitment from Rashawn King. So they kind of have, 6'10", 6'11", Josh Hill, and now 6'6", Rashawn King. That's building a pretty damn good bit of size for a, non-traditional power. And then you look at another guy in my own backyard, Micah Smith. He went on visit to Clemson and several other, he had all kinds of other interests, offers, visits, yada, yada, yada. And he, went to James Madison, who just upset Michigan State. And I think, if you take a look at guys like Smith and Hill, those could be level up guys. Those are guys who you look at and you're like, man, that guy's got so much potential. He just needs to kind of get into college and be able to either add to his body or, get experience playing against that level of competition, and then could end up being a level up kind of person.
Yeah, I look at our HoopSeen association too, right? Like Sebastian Akins goes to Denver. And then, Isaiah Olutu goes to Chattanooga. Rico Borio goes to Jacksonville. And, you start to look at these guys in our league Elijah Freeman, like I still think about Elijah Freeman all the time. Like he's so much better than some of these other guys that I see schools actively recruiting. And I'm like, he's going to go somewhere. I mean, he's got non-Division I schools that are dying. They're probably mad at me for even talking about him right now. That could be one of those guys that levels up. Or we see in these preseason, scrimmages or just exhibition games that are like going off on dudes. And now that's like your open invitation to like earn a scholarship to Division I roster is to do that. And I could see more and more guys doing that, as we kind of look at these, these situations for freshmen as they're really diminishing. I mean, there's only 18 high-level guys that are back for their sophomore seasons at their original school out of our top 100. That's stunning to me. That's a less than 20% success rate.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how these buy games have kind of been not used as, but purposefully, but kind of used as inadvertently as recruiting tools, because you play against whatever school is deemed in a lower conference or whatever, and they have a guy that kind of gives you buckets or whatever, and maybe that guy could come over to us. I remember just being from Louisville and living there at the time. Trey Lewis played for Cleveland State, I believe it was at the time, and he gave in one of these buy games he dropped like 25 on Louisville. The next year he's playing alongside Damian Lee as grad transfers at Louisville.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing that more and more and more. All right, let's look at some schools, some classes. We kind of talked about a couple of them here. If you've watched college basketball, you know that your bracket's going to get busted, right? Florida Atlantic went through, did work. San Diego State, nobody picked those guys to have the success that they did. But the talent gap is not only is it closing, it's diminishing, it's wilting away. And that is just college basketball today, man. It's just college basketball. You're shaking your head. No, you don't think so?
I don't know that I would say that it is like that diminishing. It still exists to a degree. I mean, just because you look at the landscape of the last few games, you just see a lot of blowouts. You know what I'm saying?
Fair, but you also see some teams that technically shouldn't be winning are winning, and teams that are traditional powers that are either not making the tournament, or that if they do make the tournament, they're losing the first round. Like we're seeing that more and more and more. Like chalk is no longer a thing, I think, when you look at college basketball.
Yeah, that's fair.
Your pathway to the Final Four is
it's bumpier. Yeah, that's totally fair.
And that's probably how I should have phrased it. But again, I've been on both sides of it. I've seen the very, very best, and I've seen the guys that maybe are sitting in the shadows. And I'm telling you, man, it's not that big of a gap. It's just not that big of a gap. Like I think about my brother and I have this conversation. And he gets to the G League, and he's the head coach of the G League. And this is when the G League had tryouts, okay? They had tryouts. Guys would pay like $150 to come try out to try to make a G League roster. And so he had a guy that was on their roster for his G League team that just won it was an All-American at a major school, powerhouse school, okay? And he was on their roster. They had a G League tryout, and this other kid comes in, D3 kid, dominates, kicks ass. He paid his own way to this thing to go compete at this tryout, makes the team in the G League. They cut the college Division I high major All-American to allow this guy to come on the roster. And he's like, dude, talent, we just care about the talent. We don't care about your school. We don't care about where you came from. And I think about that all the time when I look at the NCAA tournament, where that doesn't matter as much as it used to, man. There's so many good players out there that just absolutely want to go out there and compete. Motivations are different now than they were, not that long ago. Like if you're a kid getting NIL, okay, you're getting, I don't know, 6 figures from a technology company. Do you really give a crap if you're 17 wins or 17 losses? Not really.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Not really. Probably not. Anyways, there are some classes that are being built. This is my point. I'm kind of getting to it. It took me a while to get there. But let's talk about some classes that have a chance to get to the second weekend, maybe do some work, third weekend of March Madness, because I think we're seeing the bones being built by a lot of programs so far. in this class of 2024. And you mentioned Old Dominion. You want to talk about them for a second? And is that a program based on the roster they're putting together that could be a contender in this space?
Yeah, I feel like I already talked about them. They have a lot of good size and, good depth at that size. They have 2 top 150 guys and then, another 6'7" kind of guy. So yeah, I think they are a guy or a program that is one of the top, I don't know, non-power conference classes at this point, just because of that, I guess upper crust talent mixed with size, mixed with, multiple prospects committing, not just one kind of, oh, I'm from the area kind of guy. They really got a lot of guys locked up.
I like Murray State. I really like Murray State a lot. They closed out really well as we were kind of wrapping up as we're approaching to today is what I should say. They picked up 2 big ones in a matter of a week. Jordan McCollum and DJ Shine. Both of these guys are in our top 150. Both of these guys were really like. DJ Shine we saw quite a bit with the Upward Stars, an Augusta native, now at Brewster Academy. Really fine guard, man. And listen, Murray State's had a lot of success with good point guards over their career, no matter who the head coach is. Yeah. DJ Shine's a guy who's going up to Brewster, playing in that great league, playing the NIBC. Is that what it's called now? Yeah, playing in that league, playing for my guy Jason Smith, who's had so many guys that have had success for him.
Wait, up there. Brewster? Are they in the NEPSAC?
They were. They're now part of the big Nike league. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That's where the confusion was.
And they may still play out. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at their schedule yet. I'm sure they probably are. So, Jason, if you're watching, feel free to correct me. But DJ Shine is a guy that I think steps in. I think Jordan McCollum, too. I look at guys like, Tevin Brown, a guy that played on our platform that had major success with the all-time greats at Murray State. I look at he went with Matt McMahon down at LSU, and I'm totally drawing a blank. He played for our friends at the house. Williams, big guy, forward. Oh, this is what happens when you broadcast all day today. Your mind starts to kind of fall apart at this hour of the day. But Murray State's adding the class with Jordan McCollum that I think he's a player, too, that can come in there, be a 3-year starter, if not better, high upside guy. And I think you get 2 guys that could be a part of a really special run for Steve Prohm and his program to continue what Murray State does, and that's to mess up brackets come the postseason. I mean, that's what they do. That's what Murray State does, man, year in and year out. Is there another program for you, Josh, that you like that's a non-Power 5 or one of these programs that does work and that could do?
I guess, but I don't even know that I would consider that. I think that this is just a Power 5 program, but we already talked about them, San Diego State.
Yeah.
Like that's not a non-power program.
I agree. Yeah, they're a total high major.
That just doesn't commit. So outside of them, I mean, outside of Taj DeGorville, they have Pharaoh Compton, 2 guys that really fit what they have going on really well. So I think that one, I guess traditionally you'd have to look at it and be like, okay, it's not a non-power program, but if you know anything about college basketball, San Diego State is as powerful as it gets in that regard. So moving away from that, like I have more individual commits rather than classes. Like I said, Micah Smith going to James Madison. I think that one's really good because of the level of potential. James Madison was good last year. They're apparently good this year. You know what I'm saying? Like it looks like they're going to be good. Like
yeah.
Ken Pom doesn't project them to lose until January. So we could be looking at another FAU situation with James Madison kind of this year. And recruiting a guy like Micah Smith and getting him from a school like Clemson, like his last visit was to Clemson. I thought he was just going to end up going there, but he went to James Madison. So winning those kinds of recruiting battles is what propels you to be like a Murray State. How you look at Murray State in your bracket, and your mind is almost kind of ingrained just to be like, yeah, they're probably going to win that first round game. Like it doesn't matter like what year it is, what the coach is, what the players are. You see Murray State matched up in a 11 whatever matchup, and you're kind of like, yeah, I could see them winning that game. And you kind of just pencil it in, right? I think James Madison is kind of building something of that ilk with these kind of stacking classes, having good year after good year after good year.
Yeah, I think Red Thompson, by the way, for James Madison, point guard for John Marshall High School out of Richmond, tremendous program. I think that 1-2 punch for James Madison is scary good.
Yeah,
scary good. And there's a reason why Mark Byington, I think that guy's on a short leash. I think he's going to be a coach that I think levels up after his time at James Madison. He's one of hard places, man. Georgia Southern is a really hard place to win. Really hard place. He did that. He moves on to James Madison, another really hard place to win. Done a really good job there. I could see Mark Byington taking over a really good program in a couple of years after his time's up there. But I really like Micah Smith, to your point, and Red Thompson. Let's go back to San Diego State, too. I think Farrell Compton could be an all-league guy. I think he could lead his league in field goal percentage, scores everything around the basketball. We talked about Peyton Marshall from Missouri. I think Farrell Compton, who looks amazing, by the way, got in great shape, went back to Vegas, playing in his hometown after a year at Easy Comes Prep. I could see him being a real problem in that part of that physical program there at San Diego State. Really like
that. I love that one. That felt like a cheat. I had to get it in there because it was like, yeah, I guess, but that one felt like a cheat because
San Diego State's gonna be like a 3 seed, right?
Like it's like I'm never gonna say Gonzaga in this situation.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Okay, well, Gonzaga really hasn't done much on the recruiting front, which is a bit surprising.
Right, but sure, but like
St. Mary's has, and St. Mary's, like, again, Aiden Mahaney, great. I mean, one of the best signings of the 2022 class, one of the best returning sophomores in all of college basketball, and really, I would argue, maybe the face of the West Coast Conference this year. Like, truly, like the guy's tremendous.
Mahaney. Yeah, Aiden Mahaney could be, for sure.
Is St. Mary's a school that do you consider them a bracket buster at this point?
No, honestly, no, because they're
not.
Maybe it's just because like I am who I am. I think that I just really value St. Mary's, and I really value what they do over there. Randy Bennett's one of the best coaches in the country. So I just kind of don't buy into them as being a bracket buster, because I buy into them more as being a perennial NCAA tournament team. And if you're a perennial NCAA tournament team, you're not some kind of like Cinderella kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're there every year. Like, you're going to win games. Like, and it's like the same thing with like a school like VCU. Like, if I see VCU in the tournament, it's like, yeah, they're supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying?
This actually triggers a lot of thoughts for me. Mikey Lewis, picked them over some high major schools. Zion Sinsley, same thing, over some high major schools. I think the Pac-12 and its disintegration was really great for programs like St. Mary's. And I still think they would have landed these players nevertheless, but I do think that certainly helped their case for other guys. Mm-hmm. Okay, so to your point, like, we know about VCU, we know about St. Mary's, we know about Murray State. Like, James Madison, I think, is a good outlier. Let's think more on that. Let's get really granular.
Okay. This one, I think, this one fits into more of the James Madison world. Although they're not perennial, because they play in a one bid league, and it's a league that honestly has a lot of good programs in it, but they are one of the good programs, and that's Princeton. The Ivy League is awesome.
I like where you're going.
Yale's always a contender. Harvard is always a contender. You see both of those schools always upset schools in the NCAA tournament. I remember the famous Yale-Baylor game that spawned one of the greatest post-game press conferences of all time. And then Princeton just went on a nice run of their own. But they got a guy out of South Florida that we both love. I love him, Malik Abdullahi. I think that guy's motor is ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
He's probably one of the best motor men in the country in this class, I would argue. Humongous pickup. I think he's going to have a really great career at Princeton. And just based on him alone, I think that's just phenomenal class.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I'm going to give you one that's a deep cut. I like Colorado State. Well, not a deep cut. I mean, what Nico's done there has been unbelievable. I really like this class a lot. Jaden Stepp out of Tualatin High School in Oregon, one of the best winners in the West Coast, 6'6", 6'7", multi-purpose guy, can shoot, can pass, can score, can rebound, can win. I think he was a steal. I knew Washington State was in there messing around with them. Oregon State. Darnez Slater, I think, is one of the best shot makers there is. I think he's going to be a superstar there in Fort Collins with the Rams. Kyle Jorgensen. And, of course, Nico's got ties back to Minnesota. He's got a couple guys, Kyle Jorgensen and Jonathan Mikkonen. Forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Two guys from the Minnesota area, 6'9", 6'7". I really, really, really like the Rams and their class that they have there coming into Fort Collins. Nico Medved and his team done a great job. I'm trying to think who else in this class or this that I really like. Any other like deep cuts off the top of your head as I'm looking up another class?
Yeah, I like Kennesaw State's class.
Let's hear it.
They've got Adrian Woolley just committed recently, and then they've got Ricky McKenzie coming in. They probably have more. I'm probably forgetting, honestly. But I know I love Adrian Woolley. We got to see him at Bama Jam.
Great player.
And just other events. I believe the last one was he's playing with Pro 1. Ricky McKenzie plays throw a rock to Wheeler High School from where I'm recording right now. Plays there, play at the Walker School, another school I could walk to probably. Great shooter, great local pickup, right? They're winning a lot with local guys. They got him coming in. So yeah, Kennesaw State is continuing to do well on the local front.
I like it. I'm going to give you a couple. I'm going to give you, obviously, I got to go Utah State. Shout out for my daughter who's a freshman there. I'm totally biased. Got to say it.
Shout out to Mount
But I really like Terrence Hill out of Portland. Really good scorer, really good shooter. When they went after shooters, my deep cut sleeper out of the great state of Idaho. Come on. Out of the great state of Idaho.
You're the Idaho guy.
I am. Case, why not? Plays for a Native American high school. Okay. 6'6", like deep cut player, can absolutely stroke it. Can really shoot it. 5-tool guy. I think he's actually one of the best sleepers there is in the West. When he committed to Utah State, it was one of those, man, they freaking did their homework. He's a tremendous player. Really like that commitment a lot. I could see Utah State and Colorado State, to me, are my two favorites out here in the West.
Those are two going to bed classics for me over here. Put them on when I'm kind of getting ready to go to bed and watch about half of a game, then end up falling asleep. But love watching both those teams play, so I really love that one.
I mean, it happens, man. You fall asleep watching that stuff, So it's all part of the game, baby.
Yeah, the other guy at Kennesaw State that I knew I was forgetting.
Who was that?
Mekhi Turner was the other guy at Kennesaw State that I knew I was forgetting.
Yeah.
I knew they had another guy in that class that I really liked, and he slipped my mind for a second, but he's going to be a physical, athletic presence around the rim that could really dominate, and he's shown some skill away from the basket as well.
I think the best player coming into the WAC is Christian Alston, is going to Abilene Christian, top 150 guy for us. Our guy Garrett Tucker loves him. Again, Sebastian Aiken going to the Summit, top 150 guy for us out of the state of North Carolina. Zion Wilburn headed to Samford.
You know what a sneaky good class is? Jacksonville down in Florida.
Really good one.
Where Jacksonville is. But Enrico Borio and Chris Arias, two guys that I feel like I've seen a gazillion times.
Yep.
And I like both of them. They're both bigger, I guess, perimeter players. Combo forwards, or Chris Arias is maybe like a shooting guard / small forward. Enrico Borio is probably small forward / power forward, but two guys that can do a lot, bring really good size, bring really good, toughness and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, we can keep going on and on and on. I think for some of these deep cut guys, Isaiah Chappelle, UC Davis, as a guy that they visited Furman and he decided to go to UC Davis. I really like that pickup there. We know Furman's going to get at somebody really good down the stretch too. So listen, these guys are important. And I think that this gets looked over, I think, a lot because the focus so much is on the top 100 guys, the top 50 guys, the Dukes, the Kansases, the Arizonas. Understandably so. We spent 2.5 hours talking about those guys today. I get it. But I think when you really dig deep in these classes, and there's not a lot of guys yet for the early signing period, I think we may have these conversations maybe more like in the.
We might have to revisit this in like March or.
Well, we will. I
May.
think it's important to do that because I do think there are a lot of guys, again, especially with this class, and more so with this next class, because we don't even have a live period until May 15th of 2024 for travel teams. Yeah. Where I'm really interested to see like how the ripple effect that works. Moving forward. So of our top 100 guys from the 22 class, 18 value sophomores are back. I wonder, does that mean that we only have 10 guys? More guys going pro, more guys transferring. I just don't know. I just think the value of a freshman, I think maybe even shines more for these types of programs that we're talking about, the bracket busters, than maybe are the blue bloods moving forward.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, that's how Florida Atlantic, they just had guys they recruited. These are guys that have been in their program 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. They grew with them. They got better with them. They stayed the course with them. I think really that's a huge part for non-Power 5 schools to be able to pull that off and to do that. So, all right, we're getting a little disjointed here down the home stretch, mostly me because my brain has been on overload. I'm just kind of looking at our notes here as we kind of wrap things up for this second segment. There's a pretty strong chance we come back for another live show a little bit later today. Josh and I are going to get in our notes and kind of dive through this a little bit more. But we're an hour in, pretty good show. We'll cut some of this stuff up, put it out there again for you guys to watch. If you're watching right now, appreciate it. I'm Justin. He's Josh. We're HoopSeen. We talk about the early signing period so far for the class.
We'll talk about the live period in May. Please don't bring up the live period right now. We're having a live show.
It's always on my brain. The 2024 schedule, which, by the way, if you want to go to hoopseen.com/events, you can see what our event schedule looks like for next year. You can go over there and check that out. So, but we really like fits, and that's what we want to talk about with this one. We want to talk about guys who would bust up your bracket. And I think that was important because obviously Duke's going to get who they're going to get. But when you really look at it, I think this class, when we talk about it, the Missouris, the Colorados, the USCs, TCUs, and like Rutgers and some of these programs, like college basketball in the next couple of years looking forward, it's going to be really kind of fun to watch because I think you're going to have a lot of scores that you don't anticipate, maybe, unless you're like a hardcore addict like Josh and I are. But I think that gap, and again, maybe you disagree with me, I think that gap closes more and more every year. So now you have different strategies. Do you grow and do you slow play and you cultivate like what Colorado State's done and James Madison's doing? Or do you try to get guys on the transfer market and every year it's a brand new roster and you're trying to do it all over again? And we've seen how that works. Just look at Kentucky, man. That's tough. Look at Louisville. Like there's two great examples of like, can you Band-Aid it up year after year after year? That's freaking tough, man. How would you do it? If you had a program, like what would you do? Like if you had like a strategy, if you're building a roster, let's kind of dive in this actually for a second. I don't know if I want to close it up just yet. How would you build your roster if you're a Division I head coach?
I mean, I would
sorry. If you're a high major Division I head coach.
I would try and do. I mean, this is so hard to try and replicate. But I would try and do what John Shire's doing, like get like a couple. Of these well, yeah. Well, like that's the way to do it. Get a couple of the top one and done guys, and then get guys that are going to stick around in your program for a while, right? Like,
sure,
that's
sustainable recruitment.
Like that's it. Why would I say an answer that's not the right answer?
No transfers. No transfers.
I mean, if needed, like I wouldn't be like that. I probably wouldn't be the school that's like always bringing in transfers. I would maybe like Bill Self brought in like one or two transfers, like kind of that. Like, all right, we have a gap at this position. We didn't fill it in recruiting. Let's go out and get a transfer. But
almost every coach I talked to this summer all said the same thing. We got to have at least one transfer, if not two, on our roster, and then we only want to take one high school guy. I've had more guys tell me they only want to take one high school guy. I never have ever heard that. Like I heard.
Well, I like having. I mean, maybe it's just the traditionalist, but I like having those guys that just kind of come up in your system. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's hard because some of them will transfer out if they don't feel like together. But like the reason I said Duke is because like I love them having the 5-star freshmen they have coming in, plus the 2-year guys like Kyle Filipowski and Tyrese Proctor, plus a guy like Jeremy Roach to kind of hold everything together, right? Like that's the kind of roster you want in college basketball. So that seems like the right answer to me.
I think that's the next data dive is how many 5-star freshmen have won a national championship in like the last 10 years. Top 25 players, top 25 freshmen have won a national championship. That to me is the real interesting one.
I feel like the success rate's pretty decent. Maybe I'm just kind of misremembering, but
I mean, the last guy, who would be a freshman, like a 5-star freshman that won a national championship?
What was the year? What was the time frame again?
Last 10 years.
Oh, that Duke Jahlil Okafor team won with 3 freshmen starting.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
This was in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Probably like year 10.
That was 2015. So
yeah, so on the back end of it. So like in the last 5 years, especially.
Yeah, well, there you go. If you shorten the time frame, it looks a little bit different.
It's a little bit easier.
UConn had like Klingon played good minutes, but he wasn't a 5-star. Caravan played good minutes, he wasn't a 5-star. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but I think they won with a lot of older guys.
Yeah.
That Baylor team won with a lot of older guys. Villanova always won with older guys. Virginia won with that trio that was old.
I'm saying, like, it's going to be really hard. Like, we'll have to go through and dig through that. But, like, to me, it'd be really
North Carolina won with that team where I think Joel Berry was, like, the main guy.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that. Like, Justin Jackson was – I think Justin Jackson was on that team, but he was a senior or a junior. Yeah, I mean, well, if you shorten it to within the last 5 years, yeah, that list.
Okay. All right. Here's another what if then. So, like, let's say you're a mid-major coach, okay, or non-power 5. Okay. Would you rather have a guy that's a level up freshman, comes in, kills it, right? 15 points, 5-5, like great player, 32 minutes a game, helps you get to the tournament, levels up? Or would you rather have a guy that comes in, is a 4-year player, that's a part of 80 wins in his career, 20-year average, 20-win average for 4 years?
You make the tournament in those years?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume you probably would one time.
Yeah, okay, then I'm going to go with the guy that wins 80 games and makes the tournament every year.
We've seen that, right? Like with some of these classes we talked about, like Colorado State, for example. For me, like makes total sense.
Oh yeah, Colorado State awesome.
Makes total sense. Like Kennesaw State. Or then are you that coach then takes those guys to your next job, like we see like so many guys do now within the coaching ranks? So I don't know. There's all kinds of strategies. To me, roster building is more fascinating now than it's ever been. We're seeing more and more programs hire a general manager, I think, for this roster building. Also, probably for some salary cap, management, like the NBA teams do. But yeah, it's really fascinating, man. Like, if I was a college coach, I think it'd be really fun to be. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if it'd be really fun because I think it'd be really stressful. But it would be satisfying to be a non-major coach to be able to build that. And can I keep these guys around to be able to do that? Can I help guys stick around where they get 80 wins, 90 wins in their career, really establish themselves as some of the best players in school history, if that even matters anymore? I don't know.
No, I think it matters because just look at FAU and how cool their season could be,
I mean, yeah. But are people walking around going, man, can't wait to watch FAU this year?
No, but there's only like 4 schools in college basketball that anybody does that for,
Yeah, sure. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. That's why I love signing day, man. There's so many ways to watch it work, and we think we got it figured out. And then what happens? FAU and San Diego State go make the Final Four that no one saw coming, and we do it all over again. And that's why it keeps showing up. So
yeah.
Anyways, I'm Justin Young. He's Josh Tech. We've been in the weeds all day today here on the live stream. We may be back. We'll see it on social media. We'll tweet something out. Or again, you can like and subscribe our channel on YouTube, and you'll see it pop up and notify. We do it all the time too. We'll probably get into the conferences. If not today, we'll get into it here in the next week as we break down the conferences: ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Big East, probably the American. I know Justin Byerly's got some stuff going up on the Southern Conference. We have a lot of stuff coming up here in the next, really the next 2 weeks as we kind of move forward. I'll be hitting the road, going to some holiday tournaments and stuff as we get close to Thanksgiving, which is just wild. It's so weird for me to think like it's not 90. It's probably like, I don't know, mid 80s today here in Phoenix. So I still have a hard time remembering that it's like, second week of November.
The leaves are changing and it looks beautiful over here. I could never live in the desert. No offense, but it sounds like crap.
Yeah, I mean it's nice at nighttime, but yeah, it's I miss the coloring. Anyways, people didn't come here for a weather update on our live stream, so I'll and end it right here. But for Josh Tech, I'm Justin Young. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you soon as we look more into this class of 2024 here on this early sign-up period.